Good day everyone, I am Crisjane, a Quirante, and I'm going to discuss Chapter 2, Performance Assessment. What is performance assessment? This assessment measures how well students apply their knowledge, skills, and abilities to authentic problems. The key feature is that it requires the student to produce something such as a report, experiment, or performance which is scored against specific criteria. So, performance assessment, it engages students in activities and tasks that require the application of knowledge and skills through creating a presentation or a product, and especially performing something. So performance assessment, also known as alternative or authentic assessment, is a form of testing that requires students to perform a task rather than select an answer from a ready-made list. So it requires students to perform something based upon what their teacher has instructed them, and it should in line with the learning targets, learning outcomes and objectives, as well as their lessons. Performance assessment is especially useful for assessing students' achievement of complex learning standards, assessing their ability to apply concepts they learned to solve problems, and assessing skills. So, a good performance assessment can use simulation as long as it is faithful to real-world situation. For example of this is that the marine students, they are using simulations in where the features and materials that they are using are really look like the real-world situations. So it is called as a good performance. So performance assessments measure skills such as the ability to integrate knowledge across disciplines, contribute to the work of a group, and develop a plan of action when confronted with a new situation. So performance assessments are also appropriate for determining if students are achieving the higher standards set by states for all students. So for example of the ability to integrate knowledge across disciplines is that analyzing author's purpose. And for contribute to the work of a group is that using an understanding of the past presidential election to predict what will happen in this presidential election. And for develop a plan of action when confronted with a new situation is that, for example, is that using electronic library card catalog. So that's it. So what is the purpose of performance assessment? The purpose of assessment is to gather relevant information about student performance or progress, or to determine student interest to make judgments about their learning process. So in performance assessment, it really needs students to become an active participant. So this is the main purpose of performance assessment, where it can assess students' skills and performance or knowledge that are in line with their lessons. And these performance tasks are greatly, or it can greatly affect their learnings and their grades as well. There are three types of performance-based assessment from which to choose. First is the products, then second the performances, and the third one is the process-oriented assessments. It is according to McTighe and Ferrara 1998. So products, it refers to something produced by students providing a concrete examples of the application of knowledge. And for performances, so it allows students to show how can they integrate or how can they apply their knowledge and skills into performing something under the observation or direct observation of the teacher. And for process-oriented assessment, so it provides insights into students' thinking, reasoning, and motivation. So examples of performance assessments include composing a few sentences in an open-ended short response, developing a thorough analysis in an essay, conducting a laboratory investigation, curating a portfolio of student work, and completing an original research paper. So there are other things that can be called as performance assessment. So these are just some of those examples. So now I'll be showing to you the most common example, the two examples that all students can relate. First is example number 1 of performance assessment is performing a hip-hop dance. So it is really common, especially for those PE major or MAPE major. They are tasked to perform something, especially dances, right? And we students, those who study PE subjects, we are also tasked to perform something, perform some dances, and especially it should in line with the lessons or the learning targets and the learning outcomes and objectives of the subjects. The second example is performing a teaching demonstration. So it is really relevant and it is really common for education students, where we are tasked to do a teaching demonstration in a classroom setting, where we're not using a simulation because we're really in a classroom setting, right? So all of us students, all of education students experience performing a teaching demonstration. So that is also called as performance assessment. Here's the references of my presentation this morning. So that's all. That ends my discussion. And thank you and God bless.